Well, welcome to our January edition of Let's Get Growing. Many things to prepare us for spring in January, so let's get growing. Well, in January, you're still going to have to mow those grassy weeds, but at least it won't be once a week, maybe once this month, unless you've planted rye or fescue, and then you'll probably be mowing a few more times. Also in January, we continue the major pruning of our trees, and it's important that we do this every 4 to 5 years. Remember, get a certified arborist. Everyone asks me, how do you know if they're a good arborist? Call them up, ask them if they're certified. And the second question would be, will you top my tree? And if they say yes, hang up, because that's not a good arborist. We'll also want to continue to spray that dormant oil on those plants that have scale traditionally, like red oaks and live oaks. Be sure that if you've seen a problem last year, you'll have it this year. So let's hit them with dormant oil or superior horticultural oil. Well, in January, let's fertilize pansies and other winter blooming annuals to make sure that we continue getting those blooms all the way up until it's time to put our new summer annuals in. Once again, we need to mulch that bare soil to prevent weeds and insulate the root systems. A lot of times the whole top of the plant's going to freeze, but if we insulate the root system, it'll come back from the roots and be good, viable plant material for us next year. Remember to plant trees and shrubs at this time because they're on sale, and they are putting out new roots during the winter. Now we're going to want you to prune those summer flowering shrubs, but be careful. Don't prune the spring blooming shrubs or you'll be removing all of their blooms. And those are going to include the things that are listed on the screen, which means don't prune the spring flowering shrubs forsythia, holly, azaleas, mock orange, hawthorn, quince, and spirea. And then you'll have a beautiful spring blooming landscape if you leave these alone and let them bloom. Today we're going to work with Spathiphyllum, sometimes known as peace lily, and you usually get these as house plants, and that's because they won't grow outside, it's too cold. But they have white flowers, and this one has gone downhill or declined because it was planted in too big of a pot. So we're going to actually downsize it into this smaller pot, and then we're going to take this one, because see how wilty it is? I have to water it at least twice a week. So it's time to repot it into this larger pot and take this one and put it in a smaller pot. So now we're going to remove this one from its larger container. So I'm just going to keep breaking it up until I see it's, there we go. There's a nice white root. You can see these older roots. Feel of them, and they're still plump. And we can see our new little white roots coming out. So you can see how much was being wasted. So you could see it was rooted all the way to the bottom where it would be too wet, and then dry at the top, so it didn't know how to act. So what we're going to do is take it, and we had a large hole in this container to alleviate soil from just sifting out on the floor or into the pot, into the drain dish that you put underneath it. I found a piece of just wood that kind of blocks the hole so all the dirt won't fall out. Now we're going to put a little bit of soil in the bottom, and then put our viable roots in. Shake it in there loosely because we want the roots to be separated, and by shaking it, moving it around as we plant it, we're disseminating or distributing the soil around all those little roots. And then around the edge. And remember to always leave a lip on the outside edge so that you've got room. Make sure he's standing up straight. Don't worry if you break a leaf. It's going to grow many more. And we probably just increased its lifespan because now the roots know how to grow. So this is the container that we actually removed this small spath from, and we've gone through and we can reuse this soil. We're just taking anything with a salt buildup, see the white, we're taking that out, and then any big clumps, and now we're going to take it and we'll mix in some newer soil. And we want to make sure that we leave plenty of room for this new one. Now then, I'll show you why we were having so much problems keeping it wet. Look at that root system. So you can see that this little baby really needed our help. So we're going to loosen its root system up just a little bit. Put it in and just rotate it as you're going.
And say okay, and remember?
And remember that you want it nice and even. But we still need to leave a little lip to hold the soil. You just merely settle it in. And it's still just a little bit wilty, but after you water it, it's going to pick it up. And you need to, when you water your new plants, put them in a dish and let them soak up water from the bottom as well as the top. Well, that's our January edition of Let's Get Growing. Things are picking up in the landscape, so I'll see you in February, but be sure to get prepared in January.